friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia, and today we're going to be doing my monthly reset for the month of August. However, I'm not going to be including my July reads in this video. I'm playing around with the formatting again. I know I can never stick to one thing, but I'm thinking that maybe I do want to show my reading journal spread like setups for each book again. So that would make this video very long, so I'm going to do it as a separate thing. So today, what we're going to be looking at is my August reading journal setup, the pages for August, and then we're just going to talk about the books I want to read in August. And that is pretty much all the plan for this video, so let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump straight into my reading journal. All right, welcome to my reading journal. So for a while, I was pretty undecided, yeah, whatever, on what my theme was actually gonna be, and I didn't feel like super motivated, I guess the word would be, to actually like get started and like figure it out. But then I don't know exactly how I came upon this idea. I don't know, but I decided that I wanted to do a like fantasy map type of theme, and so I was able to actually sort of work on the next iteration of the map for my book that I'm writing and use that for this for my cover page. So that actually worked out pretty well because I was able to kind of like almost like it was dual purpose, you know, like it was for my reading journal, but also I can use it as a stage of development for the map, for my book, as I said. And so you will see it's quite a bit changed from my initial map. If you watched my world building video, I cut off quite a bit because I wasn't really using any of those other things or like places in my story, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like refine it down since I'm not really planning to bring those in. So yeah, that's what I did. And I also looked up, like, I tried to look at different fantasy maps and different styles and different ways that people do the elements, like forests versus mountains versus like a grassland or that kind of thing, because I wasn't super happy with the way all of that looked in my initial map draft, so I wanted to try to like learn better ways to do those things. And I do think that the forest element around the edge is improved, but I do also think that I probably should have done less of like the little bumpy tree lines and like just done them closer in around the actual clearing, because I just feel that it looks quite busy this way, like filling up the whole page with those lines. I feel like once they get that far out, they stop making sense, I guess, because they're not as associated with the edges of the forest. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it makes sense to me, sort of. So as usual, this title page, whatever, took up the most amount of time. I mean, it normally does, but it took, I think, more time, or like more percentage time of the overall time than usual, just because I was trying to make it like for my book. So I was like, okay, trying to think more about where everything is and what makes sense for my story. So that definitely elongated the process, as well as the cat who kept trying to be involved. Like, I swear she has a sixth sense for when I'm trying to do something, because she only gets on my desk and asks for attention when I'm like actively trying to like accomplish something. If I was to just be here like playing a game, nowhere in sight. She's off napping somewhere else. But as soon as I try to be productive, she's like, hello, I am here to visit, and if you don't pet me, I'm gonna go downstairs and scream at the top of my lungs until you do. But she's still cute nonetheless, and we love her. So yeah, that's Mimi for you. But in terms of my actual book, I just recently finished the second draft, and I did do a writing vlog of the second draft, and it's up on the channel already if you are interested in watching that. And sort of since then, I haven't made a ton of progress. The thing I've been working on the most is plotting out what's going to happen in the second and third books, because I'm envisioning this as a trilogy. So I kind of want to know, not specifically like every tiny little detail, but like most of the plot points that are going to be in those two books, so that if I want to have like some foreshadowing, I can link that in, as well as just making sure that things are going to make sense based on what happened in the first book in the second and third books. I feel like that's kind of an important thing to have, through storylines that make sense and details that are consistent. So that's what I've been working on for the most part. And then recently I want to have like a short prologue. And I'm also considering having, like, I like it when there's like little bits before a chapter. Like, I'm sure you've seen them. It'll be sometimes like, oh, like a piece from a history book, or some quote from somebody who's part of that world, or what have you. And so, yeah, I kind of want to I'm thinking of doing it kind of like bits of history that you get like a couple lines, and then by the time you reach the end of the book, you've kind of got a bit of a more concise history of the place. I also like that as like a world building tool, because it's like you get like a little bit of detail, but it's not like pages of world building dump, but you get like little bits as they're relevant. So I like it as a tool for that. But I am now on the TBR page for the month, and I did the same sort of header for all of my pages, where I'm drawing like an outline for the map and then just like a section of the map as if it was just like cut off, and then just using a banner design, a pretty standard one, where my titles are gonna be. I think I left 8 spaces. I don't think there were 8 books on my TBR, but I have actually added 1 already since I recorded my TBR, so we're up to 7, and I'll probably read something else that's not on my TBR, so I can always slot that in later. But yeah, pretty simple design there with the banners, and then just like little dividing lines, I guess. I tried to draw these little like asymmetrical diamond type things, but my hand was kind of shaking, so they're not very nice looking asymmetrical diamonds, but whatever, it's a small enough detail that I feel like it could be overlooked. But we are on now to my month in review and my pages read spreads. I used to put the month in review across from the title page and then had my TBR on the next page, but I definitely think it makes more sense for the TBR to be across from the monthly page, and then the pages read and monthly review all on one page, because those are both like information on how the month went. So I think it makes more sense for those 2 things to be grouped together than to have it the other way around. I mean, feel free to let me know in the comments if you disagree, but personally I think it makes the most sense. And as I said, I'm doing the same header style as I did on my TBR spread, with like the box kind of cutting off the map. These maps aren't the same as the one on the title page, but they're not like anything specific either, just kind of like finding fun shapes and stuff to fill up the box with. The one on the right, I did decide to do something more like an archipelago type of vibe, because I've been reading A Wizard of Earthsea. I actually just finished it yesterday, so that was kind of my inspiration for that map, to be more islandy / oceany. But the other ones are just kind of like random, so nothing too much to read into there. But yeah, we are almost done now, just putting a few final details on, and then of course we also still need to do the titles, which I ended up just doing with my stamp set yet again. It's a very useful thing to have, that stamp set. I did talk about it in my reading journal materials, supplies, whatever I called it, video, and I stand by that. I've used it in probably close to 50% of the months this year in my reading journal. I don't remember if I used it as much last year, but I definitely did use it a lot. So yeah, just filling in those titles now. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all that I have to say about my reading journal setup. So let's look at my TBR for the month. Okay, welcome back. So as you saw, I have quite a large TBR this month. We'll see how that goes because something did just come up, like literally today. I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but it would mean not being able to have all my books with me. So we'll see how that turns out. But I don't know if it's happening yet, so let's just go ahead and talk about all the books that I picked out. So first we have Oathbringer. This was also on my July TBR, and I just didn't get around to it. It's a big thickie. It's gonna take a lot of time to read, so we shall see. But yeah, this is the book 3 of the Stormlight Archive, and I've said before, the final book of this arc, I believe, book 5 is coming out in December. I think it's December, early December at some point, and so I want to be obviously caught up for that, but also I want to like space them out enough so it's still pretty fresh in my mind. But I think it is time now to read Oathbringer, so hopefully that will be something I get to in August. Otherwise I'll be starting to cut it fine on the amount of months that I have left. But yeah, this one, I'm gonna say that this is probably a priority. I did almost start it in July, but then I didn't. So like, I'm inspired to read it, I just haven't got around to it yet. All right, next we have The Sword of Kaigen. This book is like so unbelievably dense. It's insane how heavy this book actually is. And it is 600 pages, although you wouldn't necessarily know it because it's quite thin. But this, I believe, was originally a self-published book and then has been since traditionally published. It was receiving a lot of hype. It doesn't always mean that it's good, but I'm willing to give this a try. It is by ML Wong and calls itself a Theonite war story. So we shall potentially see what that means this month. Next, we have Dragon Reborn. This is book 3 in the Wheel of Time, and I'm sort of slowly doing a reread that I technically actually already started before I finished reading the series, but I'm wanting to continue. I did one video where I summarized Eye of the World, and I would really like to continue that series. I'm like halfway through the summary of the second book, so I want to do that, and then obviously also the next one to go will be Dragon Reborn, book 3, but I'm not going to release that second one until I have at least the script of the third one ready to go, so that probably will be a month or two out, so something to look forward to, but not like too eagerly, because you're still gonna have to wait a bit. Next we have Priestess of the White. This was also on my July TBR, I'm pretty sure. It's just one that I saw in the thrift store and thought I would pick it up because it looked interesting, and yeah, I don't really know anything about it. I believe I read the summary last time, so I will skip that this time and say that I still want to get to this, so we shall see if that happens in August. All right, I'm pretty sure this was also on my August TBR, or not August, July TBR, and that's Fall of the Neverdark. This would be the start of the next arc in the Echo Saga. I haven't had particularly great things to say about the Echo Saga so far, but I'm still willing to give it a chance. Although I was downloading covers for my reading journal, and I saw that the first 3 books in this series actually have like 4 stars on Goodreads, and I'm confused about that. Like, if you rated this series 4 stars or more, let me know why in the comments below, because I don't really think they deserve that. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, and then I actually have a second reread on my list, then, which would be Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. So last month, well, technically still this month, I reread Assassin's Apprentice, and I want to reread the whole trilogy, maybe at some point the whole Realm of the Elderlings, but for now we're just focusing on this first trilogy. And Fitz is kind of like a teenager now, I would say, and yeah, it's kind of hard to tell you what the second book is about without talking about spoiling the first book, but we're following a bastard child essentially of the royal family and him trying to find a place for himself at court. All right, then I have 3 books that are actually not fantasy for a change. First, we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I have already started this, as you can see, but then I put it on hold because I kind of wanted to film a summer reading vlog, and I felt like this was like the perfect summery choice for that. But now I'm not sure if that's going to happen because of aforementioned might not have book access. So we'll see. I'll pick this up at some point. I think it's a good one for like reading when I'm at work, actually, because you have like a 30-minute break and you can only get so into a story in 30 minutes, I feel like. So a story like this is just easy to like jump in and out of. So far, it's all right. I don't feel strongly about it. I think it's just like, I don't love like romance tropes in general. Like, I know people are like, oh, this is my favorite trope, but I kind of just like, I don't know, when a book feels like it's like really based on those tropes and not based on like a story, I don't love that super much. And then another book that I was hoping to read in that summer reading vlog was Anne of Green Gables. This is more of like a spring vibes book, but I was looking at my shelf for summer vibes books, and I don't really have many that are like feel specifically summery. And I think there is quite a bit of summertime in this book, so I'm gonna call it summery. And good enough. And then finally, I have a graphic novel that I picked up from the library today. It's called Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands. And I don't know really anything about this other than I kept seeing it at Indigo, and like the art style and like the contrast of the yellow versus like this, it's not quite black and white, but like monotone. I always just like saw it and was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. So I finally decided to just get it from the library. Ugh. Okay, I'll stop that. To just get it from the library and see what it's about. And, well, I mean, obviously it's about the oil sands, but like what the vibe is. There are about 400 pages. I don't really know how long it takes to read graphic novels. Obviously faster than like a book like this, but I don't know how long to anticipate that this is going to take me. But hopefully I can read it like soon and return it before I have to leave. But yeah, that is my TBR for the month. As I said, I have no idea how much of this I'm going to get to, but as usual, I just kind of like to have options, and then I typically go off course a little bit. I don't think I've ever had like a reading wrap up where I have read only books from the TBR I set out at the beginning of that month. That like never happens. So yeah, but I have lots of choices now, so I feel like I have a better chance of staying within this because I've got quite a variety here between new stuff, old stuff, fantasy, and not fantasy. So yeah, that is everything that I have for you today. So let me know in the comments what you thought of my reading journal setup, and if you're reading any similar books to me this month, let me know that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.